And so I speak all over the country, in workshops and trainings and seminars and conferences, big corporate events. And the number one question I'm asked, and it gets asked several different ways, but the number one question I'm asked is, how do we grow? It's the one thing that everybody wants to know. And they ask it several ways. How do we find new leads? How do we find new prospects? How do we improve our profitability? How do we lower our costs? How do we work more efficiently? And everything skirts around that one central question of how do we grow? And so when I get this question, I like to reframe it and sort of issue it back and ask the question of, how do you want to grow? Like, where do you actually want to grow? Because let's face it, you can work 70 hours a week. 70 hours a week and you can still starve. 70 hours a week and you're just barely making it through. And if I show you how to work 75 hours a week, you might be able to go from bologna to roast beef on your sandwich, but you really hadn't accomplished anything, right? I mean, you're just working a little bit more. And I'm just throwing out ideas. And my wife, my beloved wife, jokes, I mean, you're the idea guy. And I'm just throwing out ideas. And that one little solution, that one little thing, I said, you can do it in your garage or in your attic or in a spare room, or you can build a little miniature greenhouse. And I mean, the heavens shone open, and lightning was striking, and birds were chirping, and lights were going off, and it was like I had solved this gigantic problem for him with one simple little change. And I find that a lot of people, they have this grand idea of where they want to go in their business, but something always stands in their way. The venue's not big enough. The kitchen's not big enough. We don't have on-site catering. We don't have a DJ. Whatever that obstacle is, seems like it's too big to overcome. And so I get this story when I talk to people, and it's so funny because I'll see eye rolls, I'll see little giggles, and I put this in the book, and I tell this story, and it's about just viewing the problem a little differently. And since I'm a country boy, we'll go back to the Old West. And imagine you're on the Oregon Trail. You have this idea. You're going to see the Pacific Ocean. You're going on this grand adventure. So you sell everything you have, you load up the wagon of all the tools and all the stuff that you have in your life, and you're going to head out west. You've never made the trip before, but you know others have made it. The trail's there. There's a map you can follow. The trail's marked. And you know there's going to be pitfalls and dangers along the way. But you know what? My end goal is to see that beautiful blue ocean. I'm going to make it there. And so you set out bravely onward west. And about halfway down the trail, there's a log, a giant tree that's fallen over. And let me tell you about the tree. It was this beautiful, majestic, 100-year-old tree. It was the one that was taller than all of the other trees around. And if it wasn't blocking your path, you would see this for the beauty that it actually was. This thing that had been there forever. But it's not that anymore. Now it's a gigantic obstacle in your path. And it's wedged across the trail. And you look at one side, and there's trees on this side, and you can't move it over here. And there's trees on this side, and you can't move it over here. And you're just stuck. The trail is impassable. So what do you do? You stop your mule, you stop your wagon, you hop out, and you look at it, and you say, okay, so going through the options. It's like starting the process. Recognize there's an issue, recognize there's an obstacle, and how do we get around it? You could camp there and wait for someone to come back. Wait for the next person to come on the trail. Maybe they can help you. You could turn back. You could just throw your hands up and just sigh and pout. You could turn back and just be quiet and say, well, I tried. I knew I was going to fail. People told me I was going to fail. I couldn't do it alone. Or you could go back and tell every single person along your path that you passed, the trail is impassable up there. You might as well just stop where you are right now and not go. And just turn back because you can't get past it. And it's funny to me because that last example, most people don't sit and wait. Most people don't stay static. Most people just don't go back and not say anything. Most people don't turn and lose all that progress and say, well, it really wasn't that bad in Kansas City or St. Louis. I'll just go back and live there. I tried and I failed. What most people do is they talk to every single person along the path along that trail that they pass on their way back home, and they tell them it can't be done. And these are those self-imposed rules, the self-imposed limitations. And we see it time and time again, especially in small business. The bank tells you you can't do it. The land's too small. You can't put the cooler in the new facility. Whatever it is, those obstacles, and people keep telling you it can't be done, you constantly have to blaze forward. And so I learned in my career a long time ago, just starting out and trying to blaze my own path, there's another solution there. There's another way to handle this. And so I try to step back, and I try to view the problem a little differently. And you say, regardless of bravado, Regardless of how manly man I think I am, that tree probably weighs 500 pounds, and there's no way I can move a 500-pound tree by myself. And I already know this walking both in, so I can't get my horse. But you know what I think to myself? I packed everything that I own. I was prepared for obstacles. I planned for this. I was prepared for this. And this is not a gigantic obstacle that's in my path. It's just a little problem to be solved. I knew this was coming. I knew people were going to tell me no. I knew that we could persevere. And you say, you know what? I probably have a saw or an axe. And I can't move a 500-pound tree. But I could probably move a 200 or 250-pound section of that tree. So instead of waiting and throwing our hands up and defrauding everyone else that you pass, and telling everyone else that you can't be done, and enforcing those self-imposed rules, you say, you know what? I just sit here for an hour, and I'll saw the log in half. And when you start looking at some of these obstacles that way, and you hear this all the time, and you see it all the time, if you start looking at obstacles that way, I guarantee you, if you said, you know what, there's a gigantic tree, my gosh, that would have been a beautiful tree. That would have been a wonderful thing to see. It's blocking my path. You take the axe, you take the saw, and you cut the little log out, and 2 weeks later, you wouldn't even thought of it. It's just that process of viewing it a little bit different. And so I like to give this story. Some of you were giggling and some of you nodding your head. I mean, you knew where that story was going. But it's so funny. You take this little analogy and you spread it that way and you think, boy, yeah, how many obstacles have I overcome that I didn't even think about? I don't think about it until Adam brings it up. And I'm like, wow, I went through that same thing like a year ago and it was fine. And you start remembering these things, how you conquer, how you break down the giant obstacle into little things. But here's one that most people don't think about. And every single person in this room has this one little tidbit of information. And it is priceless. And I don't know if you all realize the value of this. You guys know the date. And no one else on earth knows the date. So when you talk about anniversaries and follow-up, you can put it in a little file. When you want to talk about closing people, when you want to talk about building a relationship, you want to talk about being an essential part of their life for their memory, you're not selling pictures, you're not selling cake, you're not selling food, you're selling the memory. You're selling that wonderful experience that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing in their house. I do this when I talk to realtor conferences. It's like, well, we're talking about 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, and there's a bath, and there's wall color and the paint. It's like, no. You're selling the American dream. You're selling ownership. Y'all completely lose sight of that. You start talking about, well, the bathroom was built in 1858. It's going to be clay pipes and lead pipes and it's like, no. You're killing it before you even start. You're selling the American dream. And when you're in the wedding industry or the event planning industry, you're selling the memory. You want every single person that I talked to today had some sort of story of something going wrong. And you know what that tells me? Is that every single one of you is a perfectionist and you want that memory to be special. You want, and Jeff said it, and I think in Flores, when I was talking to y'all, the one thing that goes wrong is the one thing they're going to remember. So why do you fix a third of the cake? To save that bride from that being her memory. And you know it, and you're intrinsically, and it's so, but when you talk about it, you have to translate it into what you do. Translate it into selling that experience. So if you start those opportunity wheels turning, you'll find that wherever you want to grow, whatever you want to do, and however you want to accomplish it, whatever those obstacles you have in your path, those gigantic trees, just start to think to yourself, how do I solve this log in half? How do I turn a 500-pound log into a 250-pound log? And how do I move it on the way? How do I move it out of the way and just keep going? And that's the